In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Global Vibes invites you to yet another glimpse of the Thunderbay community. My guest today is Crystal Hardy, a two-spirit Anishinaabe storyteller from the Bear Clan living in Thunder Bay, Ontario. It's with pleasure I invite you to the show, Crystal. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. This is just such an honor.
It's my pleasure. Crystal, please share us your spirit name. What does it mean? What is the significance of having a spirit name? And by the way, you're wearing that beautiful neck piece. It's
Mm.
so lovely. It's so reflective.
Oh, it's very reflective, and thank you for bringing that up. And first, I'll introduce myself in my language, and then I would like to address this too because also has a spirit and it protects me as well. Um, so hello, Buju, Jangwe Benise Kwe Dishnakaz, Makwado Dem, Binjiti Wavik Saging Anishnabek, Nindojaba. So that means I'm sounding Thunderbird woman. I'm from the Bear Clan and I'm from Rocky Bay First Nation. And as you know, I'm living here in Thunder Bay, but Rocky Bay First Nation is about an hour and a bit drive from
Yeah.
here. And we're part of the Nokiwan Tribal Council. But I'm living here in Thunder Bay and I love this place because it's the Bay of Thunder. And, my spirit name is sounding Thunderbird woman,
Exactly.
right? And so I just know this is where I'm supposed to be, right? And I was listening to the Thunderbirds last night and it was just so beautiful and kind of woke my spirit up. And so Thunderbirds in my culture are very much messengers. So this is what's guiding my soul's purpose, like my mission here, right? So finding my spirit name was such an important part of me,
Beautiful.
reclaiming my culture and finding out like why am I here? Like, I think we always kind of ask
Wow.
those things, why do we do the things we do? And so, making the sound of thunder to like raise awareness about things and, to make change and not just in my own life, but in other people's lives. So I keep touching my chest here. So I'm going to acknowledge this beautiful piece of regalia that I have.
Beautiful. Yes.
And so a friend of mine made it. And, the big part, which we see right now is this reflection in the mirror, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we often in our communities put mirrors on our regalia as a form of protection to ward off bad spirits. But the other piece that I think is important to me, and this is actually what's been guiding a lot of my healing journey, is the mirror, right? And so looking at reflections of myself in other people, in my community, in my surroundings. And so when I'm seeing pain and discomfort, I know a lot of that is a reflection of myself. And so going, what needs to change, right? So I've been reading a lot about social change things and how to do things like in a way that makes you feel filled up as well, because as givers, we give so much that we often feel empty and feel like nothing's changing, right? So coming together is so important. So the teaching of the mirror is so important to me because it's a reflection. So when we see something maybe we don't like in someone else, it's an invitation for us to go, where have I done that in my life? Where have I been that same way, right? And understanding when that person is exhibiting that, it's coming from a place of woundedness, right? It's coming from a trigger that something upsetting happened to them. It's their way to protect themselves, right? So where have you done that to protect yourself, right? And then the other piece of the mirror is like when you see something you love about someone that you really like and you're like, wow, they're so amazing. They do this and this, to know that you have that within you as well. So I think that's been the big healing for me, is to know that, like, finding that strength within myself
Oh,
and just
beautiful.
being myself, right? And I think that gives people the opportunity to be themselves as well. Yeah. And of
You
course,
have.
right? Oh, thank you so much.
It's
And
beautiful.
the lotus is, as well, it grows out of the mud, right? Out of the dirt. And then it's just this beautiful flower, that comes out. So I think, it shows that we have this beauty in our lives, but it's through pain sometimes, right? And we have to embrace all of that. And so that's been a big part of me embracing my spirit name and who I truly am and why I'm here on this planet and the work I'm meant to do. So again, I'm so grateful to be here because like there's so many things that I'm doing that I think is really great, that I can show other people you don't have to fit in just to one box, and you can just do a lot of things, right? And be fully authentic. So
I must say, Crystal, that you've really owned your name. Yeah, your inner energy is so reflective, and it's. I'm sure you're guiding not only yourself but so many others around you. So, Crystal, you are an author. You're a storyteller. You're a journalist, you're an artist. You share your thoughts and insights through various communication mediums. There's a range of formats and approaches that you have embraced, and all of them are creative, all of them. What is it? What is the message? What is your narrative? What are you trying to convey through your all these different formats?
It's really interesting that you asked that, because I was reflecting on that the other day and going like, I am doing a lot of different things, and like, what is the common thread, right? And I think it goes back to, again, my spirit name, so sounding Thunderbird Woman, right? And also going back to the fact that I'm a two-spirit person. So, in our culture, two-spirit people carry, gifts that I say I embrace the gifts of the sun and the moon. So, and like that's the light and the dark, right? And so
Right.
showing that we have all of these parts of us. And through my own healing, that's how I've done that, through writing and through speaking, right? So growing up, having a voice and speaking my truth was not safe to do. I grew up in very abusive situations. My mom is one of the missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. My brother was murdered a couple of years ago. And so,
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, thank you.
Sorry to.
Yeah. And it's interesting that I kind of just rhyme it off like it's normal, right? It's just like
No,
a
it's not.
list of things, but I
It
think,
shouldn't have happened to you.
right. And I think that's the interesting part about how, you know, it's so common in our families and in our communities, that it's like I just talk about it like it's just the next thing, talking about like it's just a daily thing. So thank you for for slowing me down for a minute there. But I think that's what's also important about it, is that we are all struggling and going through things. And when I'm sharing my voice, I'm able to show other people that they can share their voice too. So again, growing up, I was, punished for speaking my truth. I had to be very calm, collected, going through traumas, are very, very difficult. And having experienced multiple traumas through my life, I have complex PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. So what that means is that there's a lot of symptoms that are very, I would say, dark, right? So I feel very overwhelmed. There's like a harsh inner critic. There's a lot of toxic shame that happens from that. And that's a lot from the upbringing that I had, right? So using creativity and using art and storytelling, storytelling isn't just speaking, isn't just writing. It's through art, it's through prayer, it's through song. So doing that has been my medicine. And then going, well, if I'm hurting this much and this is helping me, then maybe it'll help other people, right? And so
Exactly.
that's why I'm using different mediums, first off, to try them, right? Because like, some people are like, oh, is there anything you're not good at? I'm like, there's lots of things I'm not good at. Trust me, I'm not good at. But I'm good at the things that I really enjoy and that I work hard at, right? Like I never was able to pick up a guitar and just start playing. Like I had to learn the chords, right? My hand drum, right? Like I
I
didn't
did see that.
just all of a sudden just start singing all the Anishinaabe
Oh,
songs, right? It takes us one step at a time. So I think oftentimes we compare ourselves to each other, but we don't show the pain as much, right? We don't show the
mhm.
struggles as much, because it's not as fun, right? It's not as enjoyable, right? But I think what I've been trying to find is sort of like the magic and like the beauty in those painful things, right? It's like the rose and the thorns, right? It's like
Oh,
is creating beauty from that pain, right? And so that is what I do through my art, through my writing, through journalism and all of these things, because I'm using my voice. And to me, it's not about like being right or being better than anyone or anything. It's just about being real.
your expressions. Yeah, it's your
Right.
expressions.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm so glad, you spoke about all the personal trauma that you've gone through. But in the midst of all of that, you found your inspiration.
Hmm.
Yeah, somebody was guiding you out there. Right?
Oh yeah. Well, all
Amazing is that.
my guides, all of my ancestors, and I think that's the part where for me, the journalism piece has been very important to talk about, like solution focused journalism, because we're really good at, there's like a little fly in my house right now. Really good at,
Spirit of yeah.
the spirit there. We're really good at finding the problems, right? We're very good at it, and that's awesome. But unfortunately, when we only see problems, it perpetuates stereotypes, and so
Mhm.
through all of this work, I'm sort of helping, people see a different narrative about Indigenous people while I'm exploring it myself, right? And going, there's no ceiling. Like we're always like, you know, whatever. Like there's no like you can just go to the sky, the moon, like the stars, the planets, like, the only limits we have is on ourselves. And I found that,
Exactly.
right? And
You're finding it.
right through trauma and through like the way of the world, and we're all experiencing traumas in different ways. It comes out as like fear, right? And we go into our responses. So if we can kind of put ourselves in other people's shoes, again, that mirror, and going back to, that's actually not about me, right? That's about them. And letting, I think a big part for me as a nurse practitioner and a healer is like learning that I need to keep myself feeling, well and healed so I can help other people, right? And through my PhD, I'm doing a PhD in nursing at Queen's
Yes.
University.
Yes. Yes.
And it's really about a self-study about myself, using storytelling as medicine, and going, what parts of my cultural story affect me now? What parts of my family history affect me, right? What parts of my own personal story shape who I am in this world, right? So I'm really hoping that through this work, I can help empower other people to use a ceremonial sort of self-practice where they, they use the arts, where they journal, where they color, where they dance, where they pray, where they do all of these beautiful things to promote their own resilience and their ability to adapt to really difficult situations. Like nurses, especially right now on the front line, we're thinking about that, right? Like are suffering traumatic issues and suffering compassion fatigue. And I think that's where I was feeling. I was just so overwhelmed with all the traumas in my life. And I was giving and giving and giving. And I was like looking for what could give back to me. And so it was like, well, turning to spirit, going to ceremony again, right? That's what actually helps me heal. And ceremonies in everything. Ceremony, like before our meeting today, like I put tobacco down, I said prayers, like I'm wearing my ceremonial things, like but I think we have to remember everything is ceremony, like everything in our lives, every interaction we have, and it'll help us be more grounded so that we're not comparing each other, or like, because that's from fear, right? We can't have fear and love at the same time. And I know myself, and when I'm in my traumas and in my triggers, I'm really afraid, and I'm not the kindest person because that's how I protect myself, right? And so it gives me an opportunity to go, where can I change there? How can I grow? I don't like feeling that way. Where was that coming from? And I think that's how we can change the world, is by changing ourselves. I know it seems so, kind of corny sounding, but it's like,
Oh no.
but the more that we focus on ourselves and trying to change ourselves, and other people focus on changing themselves, we don't have to worry about changing each other, right? We can accept people as they are and know that everyone's on a journey, and that we're also on our journey. So like, we don't know what's going on in their lives, but we certainly know what's going on in ours. So we need to kind of go, okay, why does that hurt so bad? Or why did that make me angry? Or why did that make me happy? Like, all of those things. So trying to find that duality again, for me, that two-spiritedness. It's like the sun and the moon, right? It's like the sun is like very like optimistic and like all of these beautiful things, and like the moon's like, it's kind of scary at night, and the moon goes through different phases, and sometimes it's not there and sometimes it's there. So
And but there is the beauty and the creativity from moon as well. How
exactly.
beautiful. How beautiful.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your studies. How far are you into your PhD?
So I've got my candidacy. So right now, basically I'm working on my thesis proposal. So
Nice.
what you heard today was sort of like where I'm at. And so the next part is kind of framing on like what that's going to look like for my sort of quote unquote data collection. And I love that. And, I've been really trying to incorporate like, again, Western ways and Indigenous ways, because,
Nice.
you know, there's so much space for everyone, and there's so many different ways to learn things. So, there's a concept that was brought up by Elder Albert Marshall, which is called two-eyed seeing. So it's like looking through the eyes of a Western way and also through the eyes of an Indigenous way, and then combining the strengths of both, and looking at it that way. So like when we're looking at data, it's very interesting because I believe like the Latin term under like the undertone is like a gift. So when that's a gift that someone gives you. And oftentimes when we're gathering data, it's actually stories, right? We're all stories, everything about us. As a nurse practitioner, I would ask people, tell me about your symptoms, right? So that's a story, right? People are telling me about how that started, right? How they're feeling now, what they think it is, right? And so it just, again, we can do that with everything in our lives, and everything tells us stories, right? And it's just, I think, a beautiful way just to kind of look at the world, and it's a way to educate ourselves and each other. That's how we teach children, right? We don't go, this is step 1, step 2, step 3. I mean, maybe you do, but usually you do it by, telling a story or doing it together or showing, right? Showing, not telling, is like the key to storytelling, right? So it gives people a context and a definition, because it gives you kind of, again, it's like everything together. And I think that's what
Yeah, I know. You're kind of embracing everything, your insights and what you see in people, within yourself. There's so many layers of understanding. And the fact, Crystal, is the fact that you said that, first understand yourself. Yeah, that is so important. Just make those changes within yourself. Recognizing that itself is a big step
yeah,
going forward.
it's not easy
Right.
either,
It's
right?
not easy, exactly.
And
It's
I
not
think that's the
easy.
part, I can't remember who said this, but I read this quote the other day. It's like, the truth will set you free,
Yeah.
but first it'll make you really angry. Right?
Just recognizing that. Absolutely.
But then
Good.
going, where can I change from here? And that's the part where the work kind of comes in, right? But knowing that you're worth the hard work is like the part
Absolutely.
I keep reminding myself.
Yeah. So much more to do. You have several nonfiction books to your credit. The recent one is, I think, The Lighting the North, right? Is that the one? She's no longer silent. And there are some upcoming releases as well.
Definitely.
Please tell us please tell us a little about your books.
Definitely. Well, I'm super grateful. They're the two books that I'm in are collections with other women and non-binary people, and it's really beautiful. So She's No Longer Silent is really about people, again, reclaiming their voices, right? And after they've experienced sexual trauma, injustices, all of this kind of thing. So using that space to share. And in The Lighting the North is an anthology of cultural diversity from across Canada. So there's many different people from different backgrounds who share parts of their story. So in both of those creative nonfiction pieces, I'm exploring kind of how I'm healing through intergenerational trauma,
Right.
and sort of how it's affected me, and how, I see the future of my daughter, right? And what that looks like in our own family. And I'm currently working on my own solo book, which I'm really excited about. And it's really just looking at kind of the adventures of my life, because I was given another spirit name, which is called Spirit Adventurer, and sort of,
Right.
looking at all of the things and the different quote unquote chapters in my life, right? And but I think the big message for everyone, I think, is just knowing that we can change the ending to our story, right? Like we are the ones in control of our lives, and no matter what people think or say, like, as long as you know
It's your life. Yeah.
what's true to you, like, as you just but that's what's going in and reflecting and going, is this my own thought, or is this like something I was taught in school, or is this something I saw on TV, or is this something, right? Because we're getting sent messages all the time, like subliminally, and like actually, like, you see messages of everything, like with COVID and all this kind of stuff, so we're bombarded. So going inward and being quiet, and like, every morning I turn off my phone, my TV, everything, music, and I just sit for like an hour and just like journal and like color, and I just sort of let my emotions come out, and I kind of do like a brain dump for the morning, because
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so much noise, right? And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do today. And so much self-compassion we need right now, particularly during this like over a year of a pandemic, right? Like, you think about
Self-care. Yeah.
trauma, right? Like, and you think about, we're in this like hierarchy of needs. We're still kind of in this safety and unsure. We're not sure what it looks like from day to day, or, are we going to go into a lockdown, out of a lockdown? So to me, it's like going outside and connecting to nature, even if it's just like sitting on like my front lawn and just like, being outside in the sun, because again, that's so healing for us. And
Absolutely.
we are animals, just like everything else. We're connected to this world. And I kind of sit out there and I like watch the squirrels and I like watch things run around. I'm like, they don't care about COVID. They're just trying, you know,
Just the natural energy that you get from the living beings. Yeah.
hmm,
Crystal, there's so much more to talk to you.
talk
you
forever.
host a you host a weekly community radio show called Z's Place on CILU 102.75 7 FM in Thunder Bay. And you also produce and host the Under the Same Stars podcast. What prompted you to take these mediums? Do you have a specific audience in mind, or what drove you? What was that guiding force?
Yeah, I love that. And so I think that was, well, one thing I had seen was other Indigenous people using podcasts. And so I think about, well, first off, the Thunder Bay podcast by Ryan McMahon. And I was like, okay, well, what an interesting thing to try, right? And I'm like, can
Right.
I do that? And I was like, why can't I? Right. And I
Why
think
can't
piece where we are our own worst critics, right? And I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I just started it on like my iPad and I was like, I want to talk to people who are doing great things in this world, who are promoting unity, who are using their businesses, who are volunteering, who are, using their platforms to promote people coming together. Because I think that's what we need. We need to promote love over fear, right? And that's a lot of our things are fear-based. So I started talking to people and I loved being connected to community, right? And talking and going, wow, look at the amazing things you're doing. Nobody knows
yeah.
about it. And I think that's what goes back to the solution-focused journalism, right? Is promoting that kind of stuff. And then, the radio show, like such a cool thing. And many people don't know this, but Indigenous communities right now and since the 70s have relied on the radio as a
Yes.
main form of communication, right? And so kind of exploring what that looks like too,
Nice.
and sharing my voice and music and Indigenous artists and other non-Indigenous artists that are promoting unity is sort of like the theme throughout, right? So to me, it's like making social change through storytelling and sharing people's stories and their music, because music is so healing for me too. And so that's just like, combining all of that together. And I think I want to show people it's like, you can do that. Like there's going back to the mirror, like I had no idea how to start a podcast, but you know what, the internet and like people who've done that, like are happy to talk about that. Right. Or like going to the radio station. I was like, well, I applied and like, worked hard, did the training, like, right. And my first shows, oh boy, like, but that just shows growth. Right. And I think
right.
it's important.
All you need is intent and the purpose, right? And you'll
Absolutely.
find there will be guiding path.
Yeah, that love and passion for something and you put the
Yeah.
work,
Awesome.
you got it.
I know. I know. Crystal, you are really an inspiration, and it's a pleasure talking to you. And there's so much sincerity, there is so much genuineness. There is, and you're talking from your personal, you have so many personal stories, and and of course, you're inspiring people. And many more would like to be connected with you. So how do they get in touch with
Definitely. And I would be happy to connect with anyone. I just love it. So you can check out my website, which is welcometozsplace.com. I'm also on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Zhangwei Benisekwe. Yeah, and I would be happy to connect with everyone. I've got some really cool things coming up, some cool events, and lots of them are free to attend. And
Right.
good opportunities to learn about different ways of knowing and being. And I'm so open to learning about other people's ways of knowing and being. So share and share alike, right? It's community.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it. Love talking to you. And I learned a lot of new insights. So great job. Great work. Keep them coming. Continue what you're doing. And all the very, very best in your endeavor in bringing social changes through your creative mediums. And good luck with your academic pursuits as well.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thank
And
you.
Chimakers for having me here. And thank you so much for what you're doing as well. And, it's really important. And I just am so grateful. So thank you again.
Our paths will cross for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for watching this insightful conversation that I just had with Crystal Hardy. She gave us her website link. Please do visit her website and get to know more about. There's so much more to know about the work that she's doing, social changes that she's talking about, journalist work. There's a whole lot of array of good work happening there. Please do connect with Crystal, and thank you so much for watching this edition of Global Vibes. Till we meet again, stay.